Konnichiwa, wrong channel. What's up gamers, Chris here with Telesplashgaming, and today we're talking about complete collections. For me, I'm on the journey to collect a complete Nintendo 64 set, not complete in box, but just every game released in North America. And it kind of got me thinking, of all the major consoles, what does it take to get a complete set? As gamers, we're all in it together when it comes to gaming, but as a collector, maybe you have baseball cards, Pokemon cards, books, DVDs, heck, maybe your toenail clippings, I don't know, I'm not judging. Maybe you got your favorite lip balms when you were a kid, sitting in a corner, piled up. But for this, we're talking about gaming in general. And all of our favorite consoles have a library of games. But how many would it take to complete a full set? Well, today I'm going to give you an idea of how many games it would take to complete a full set, at least for North America, on most of the major consoles. I'm not talking about handhelds today. That can be a video for another time. Stick around. Let's get into it. Starting this off, I'm going to give a quick little disclaimer. I did a ton of research for this trying to figure out the exact number, but there's many different places saying a couple different numbers, so I'm just going to go ahead and say that the number I give is going to be really close to the accurate number. And we're going to go back a few years with the old wood grain beast itself, the Atari 2600. Now the Atari 2600 is really not the first system ever released. There were tons of systems before, but the Atari 2600 was one of the original OGs that a ton of people played. But really there wasn't a ton of games released for it. 136 games originally. Now since then, there's been a ton of unlicensed games for it. But if you want to go back and collect the OG Atari 2600, it's not a bad way to go, other than the games are really rough at this point. Let's go ahead and stick with Atari. The Atari 5200. Shortly after the 2600, they had to come up with something cool. So now we got the 5200. And it has a nice, small number for games. 69. Yeah, 69 games is all it takes to have a full Atari 5200 set. Now again, I'm not counting homebrews, I'm not counting variations, I'm just counting the initial games that you can have on this system. Pretty small. Again, don't recommend collecting for it though. Now we're going to get to the one that everybody should be having a few games for. The original Nintendo, the OG, the system that made you stay up too late, show up to work late, neglect your kids, and maybe cause your spouse some grief, because the NES was an absolute boss. And the system itself has a ton of games, but not as many as you might think, at least in North America. It only has 677. Is that right? Well, let me find out here. I've got it all written down. 677 North American games. Wowzers, that's not really as many as I thought. Now here's the deal with Nintendo. There have been so many variations, so many homebrews. There are thousands of actual games you can play on your console, but if you want Nintendo licensed video games in North America, 677 is the magic number. Except, hold on, it's really 679 because there's 2 championship carts if you want to go for a complete set. But those championship carts are going to cost you more than most vehicles. Yeah, have fun with that one. Moving on to the SEGA Master System, this thing had a fairly small library of games at 117 in North America. Now, again, if you want to talk about PAL territories, we've got 312 worldwide, but 158 exclusively in the PAL regions. So if you're going for PAL, there you go. But North America, we're talking nothing. Pennies, 117, no big deal. SEGA head, you better go far. I want to hear you complain about it. 158 games in the PAL regions? Come on, no big deal. So SEGA Master System, a lot of people don't know about it. It was the system that really kind of competed with the Nintendo that eventually led to the Sega Genesis. And heck, while I've got it up here, let's talk about the old Sega Genesis. What has that bad boy got on it? Well, in North America, 688 games. That'll cost a few doll hairs. Now my buddy across the old pond, Mike at Retro Gamer Boy channel, who I'll pop up here in just a few minutes once the button bashers get off my screen, Mike is going for a complete Mega Drive. Now the Mega Drive is what it's called over in the PAL regions over in Europe, so he's going for a complete set. I don't know how many games it is over there, but with close to 700 here, Mikey, good luck to you, my friend. Sega might do what Nintendo don't, but Super Nintendo had 1,756 games worldwide, with 718 of those being exclusive in North America, or not exclusive, but in North America. So 718, plus there was 4 championship carts. So if you want to collect for Super Nintendo, you're getting over 700 games, plus you're getting those rare, expensive, hard to find, holy grail games. 4 championship carts. I love the SNES. I'm definitely not going for a complete set on that anytime soon. Are you? Well, Sega, they weren't done though. They kept adding on. The Sega CD came as an add-on for this poor Sega Genesis. It had 211 games released worldwide, with 149 of those being North American. So 150 games, just under, if you want to go ahead and complete your Sega CD collection. Didn't realize the Sega CD was that popular. Had no clue. Gotta raise my glass to the next one. The Sega 32X. What a pile. I mean, not really, but the Sega 32X was another add-on for the super popular Genesis that just couldn't let it go. It was like that dang horse that needs to get put down and just keeps taking those bullets. That's the Genesis did. It just couldn't let go and move on. The Sega 32X had 40 games released for it. Not a lot. And 36 were in North America. 36 North American games, 32X. I salute you, my friend. That's that handsome fella getting that Mega Drive collection right there, retro gamer boy. But hey, I'm pulling the old notes out for this one because my mind, with a mixture of my good friend, Peanut Butter Whiskey, is having a hard time keeping these numbers in check. We're moving on to the PlayStation 1. Oh, the PlayStation 1 is an absolute gem in gaming. But how many games were on it? Well, too many. But let's go ahead and get down to it. The PlayStation 1 had over 3,000 games released. Hold on though, that's overall, worldwide. The number in North America is not nearly as bad. 1284. Well, 1,284 games? Good luck with that one. I love you, PS1, and if you're gonna collect for it, guys, clear out a room. It's taking up a whole garage. It's a lot. It's a lot of games in North America. Sega wasn't dead though. No, Sega wasn't dead. After that Frankenstein monster of 32X, Sega CD, and Genesis together, they still had to come out with a new system, which would have been better off in the first place. But the Sega Saturn came out with 258 games in North America. Here's the kicker. In Japan, over 1,200 games. We did not get any Sega Saturn love over here in the States, but if you want to collect for it, 258 is not a terrible number, although they are hard to find. I mean, I very rarely see Sega Saturn games. It just wasn't that popular. I remember they were a dime a dozen for a long time. Now, it's a dozen for a game. It's not worth a dime. Oh yeah, we're moving on to the system that really holds a place right here. Right there. Next to that hairy chest and this heart, the Nintendo 64. You probably know, the Nintendo 64 has 296 North American games. There is a kicker though. There is one additional NTSC game. It's an F1 racing game released in Brazil, I believe, that would make it 297 if you're going for NTSC. If you're going for just North America, it's 296. That is the number. If you're going for PAL, oh, here's the deal. There's only 4 PAL exclusive games. So I think I'm going to up my number. I'm going to make it an even 300. 296 for North America, and then another 4 to make it an even 300 from the PAL regions. Easy enough. Worldwide, I don't know. I'm not going for that. The translation kills me. Although Sin and Punishment for the N64 is one that I am going to pick up as an import game. Moving on from the N64 to its successor, the GameCube. The GameCube had 551 Black Label games released in North America. My buddy Retro Wolf 88 just completed his collection this year. I believe he said Luigi's Mansion was the last game he got, which is funny. I think everybody has Luigi's Mansion. But anyway, congrats to him for collecting it. But 551 games. Now we're getting to the point where games came in cases. Now for me, I'm going for a loose copy of N64 games, but with GameCube, Wii, anything after that, everything came in cases. I don't feel like it's that hard to get them, at least for the most part, complete, or at least in box. So 551 GameCube games is the number if that's your favorite console of all time and you want to go and start collect for it. 551, what's each game gonna cost? $5-10? No big deal, it's a cool 5-10 grand. You'll have it by the time your kids graduate college, or maybe you graduate college. No biggie. just gonna keep this train going with Nintendo. The Nintendo Wii has around 1,262 games, but here's the deal with Wii. The Wii worldwide has a ton of games, and they keep putting out games. Just Dance, I think, got a 2020. I know it had a 2019. 2020 Just Dance, for real. So the Wii is a little bit off for the most part because there's always a bunch of games coming. So I think we're right around 1262, somewhere in that ballpark. The Wii has a ton of games, and there was just a lot of stuff. And I'm not talking about games you can get digitally, I'm talking about physical games only. So if someone's in the back going, no, there's actually 12,000 games released on that system, well, I'm sorry, Shermanator, I'm not going for digital. I'm talking about games you can buy and put on your shelf. I'm not collecting space in my hard drive, all right? I'm collecting space on my shelf. Next, we're gonna give Nintendo a break, and we're moving on to the most electrifying, exhilarating, high-flying, silent profiling, can't keep these gators on the ground system of all time, the PlayStation 2. Over 3,800 games released worldwide. But here's the deal. I'm gonna break it down a little easier. If you want to collect all of the North American games, no, it's not 3,800. It's a little over 1,850. It's kind of hard to tell. Oh, and we're not counting variants either. Did I mention that earlier? Because if you put variants in there, oh, forget it. 1,800 games to get a complete PS2 collection. I collect PS2 games. I will never, ever try to get all of them. I can't even collect all the games I like on the PS2. Nonetheless, all the games out. So if you want to collect all the PS2 games, please shoot me a DM. I want to see this collection when you're done. It's going to take up a whole wall. It's got to take up a humongous wall. I got to see it. The surprise competitor to the PS2 and the GameCube, the Xbox came out. And how many games? Well, there's been a few different discrepancies in terms of how many games. I saw one site said 864, 866. We're just going to go ahead and say around 865 to 870 games. That's probably a safe number. Regardless, still a lot of games. Nothing like the PS2 library, but the Xbox still put out a ton of games for the time. And it was a great beginning for Microsoft in the home console market. So for that, raise your glass to Microsoft. Where's my glass? There it is. Getting a little empty. Next up, I'm gonna lump the next two together, the PS3 and the Xbox 360. Wanna know why? Because I can, I guess. And also, they're close in games. The Xbox 360 has 1072, roughly, and the PS3 has 1090. They are very close in games released in North America. Again, not counting digital, which really breaks my heart because a game like Cuphead, I absolutely love, but didn't get a physical release. So I guess that is a game, but it's not physical. That's on the Switch and the Xbox One and PS4. But again, stuff like that is kind of hard. So there is some discrepancies. But if you want to collect the game, have it on your shelf, these are physical numbers. So a little under 1,100 for both consoles. The numbers are literally mind-blowing. To think about collecting 300 games for N64 is doable. To think about turning that into times 4 and doing 4 times as much, with the amount that I've spent already, I couldn't even imagine. But hey, if you're a PS3 and Xbox 360 fan, we're not that far removed from them. Games are fairly reasonably priced at this point. Now is the time to pick up a bunch of those games. Even if they're $1 a piece though, you're still looking at 1,100. Moving on, a moment of silence for the system known as the Wii U. Okay, that's long enough. The Wii U only had 157 games physically released in North America. Yeah, not a lot. Frankly, Nintendo didn't even give the system a chance, but I think it's because once they released the Wii U, they're like, hold on, we can do this better. And then we got the Switch, so I'm glad they did it. But it's almost like the Wii U was like the trial run to the real console they wanted to put out. But the Wii U has become somewhat collectible, and with 157 games, heck, I might start thinking about that now. That's not bad. It's not bad. I mean, the prices aren't good. It's not bad. And now, gamers, we're pretty much caught up. We have the PS4 and the Xbox One out right now. They are both pumping out games still. I think the PS4 is somewhat over like 1,600 games. I don't know if that's worldwide or North American. It doesn't really matter because we're still going to get a lot of games over the next year or so on both consoles as we make that transition to the next gen hardware. So for me, I didn't really put a number together for these. All I know is there's a lot of PS4 games, a lot of Xbox One games, and with companies like Limited Run putting out games, they do count as physical releases, so they make them even harder and more collectible. So to start collecting on a modern system would honestly be almost harder than finding old school, because there was no digital, there was no, crazy limited games that were out that you can only get other than like Blockbuster exclusives, which I'm dealing with in my collection right now. But there was nothing like that. There wasn't a lot of variants back in the day, so it makes it a little bit easier to collect retro games, I believe, than trying to get a full modern set. And everybody can pump out stuff, especially indie developers, which makes it so much more fun to game with, but way harder to collect. So there you go. We're at modern consoles. Next gen is just around the corner, and I cannot wait. Thanks for hanging out. Not the most exhilarating, exciting, mind-blowing episode, but how fun is it to go around and look at the history of games and see how many games were released on each console? If you liked this, you enjoyed it, smash the thumbs up, smash the subscribe button, and let me know if you want to hear about your favorite handhelds and how many games were on the Game Boy, and the Game Boy Color, and the Advance, and the Neo Geo Pocket. Hey, we can do it. Anyway, guys, thanks for trolling along with me. Appreciate it. Have a great week. See you next Friday.